One of the questions that people get asked about with blood sugar control is interpreting the changes in concentration of blood sugar after a meal. This is the typical sort of graph that you get. Okay, so time goes along the bottom, normally in hours, and blood sugar concentration . Sometimes they say it's glucose concentration, and it's normally in something like micrograms per milliliter. And they show you this. Normal blood sugar levels oscillate up and down, then it climbs, then it decreases, goes a bit too far down, and then it goes up again like this, and continues to oscillate. I'll just extend the axis. And they want to know what's happened. Well, you need to know what's happened here. It's made blood sugar level rise. You need to know what's happened here. It's made blood sugar level start to fall. And you need to know the two things that have happened here, which has made the blood sugar level rise to this point. And then you need to know what has made the blood sugar level fall on these little downward slopes here. So this area here and this area here, and I'll explain that in a second. Okay. First thing that's happened is that you need to understand are the safe levels of glucose that the body likes to maintain, because this is an example of homeostasis. And if you look across, you can see that the sugar levels are falling within this safe range, which I'm showing with the dotted line. So this is where your blood sugar levels want to be. Now you can see that for a short time, in this area here, the blood sugar levels are above the safe limit for the body. And what you've done here is you've had a meal. And your food is being, your digested food is being absorbed into the blood, which is increasing the blood sugar levels. Now, you should remember about the two hormones involved with controlling blood sugar levels, and they are insulin and glucagon. And you should remember as well that these are both made by the pancreas, which is a gland. But it's the brain that tells the pancreas which hormone to release. The other thing that you need to remember is that the liver stores glucose as glycogen, but this is a reversible reaction. So glucose can be turned into glycogen, but glycogen can be turned back into glucose. And if you want to turn glucose into glycogen, the pancreas needs to make insulin, and if you want to turn glycogen back into glucose, the pancreas needs to make glucagon. So that's in the liver, stored, and that's in the blood. That's the basis really of the hormonal control of blood sugar. Now, here it's been rising as the food is being absorbed, and then it starts to decrease here. So that point there is where your insulin was released. The insulin will turn the glucose into glycogen in the liver, so that will mean the blood sugar levels fall. And then what happens is here, it drops below the lower safe level. So at this point here, the brain detects that it's fallen too far, and two things happen. You have to stop releasing insulin. So the brain tells the pancreas to stop releasing insulin and start releasing glucagon. And what the glucagon does is it turns the glycogen back into glucose, the liver releases the glucose into the blood, and blood sugar levels rise. Okay, what the brain does here, because it starts to get too high, is it says stop releasing glucagon. Now, so why does it fall here? Well, that's because the body is using the glucose in respiration. So as respiration uses the glucose, it falls again. So at this point here, and if it continued at this point here, that would be start glucagon again. And so would this one, because it starts dropping too low. But this bit here is respiration, which is this, C6, H12O6, that's your glucose. O2 gives you energy plus CO2 plus H2O, and remember it's 6 of each and 6 carbons there. So your glucose is being used up, which is making it fall at that point there. And that's really the hormonal control of blood sugar when you're looking at concentration of blood sugar in the body. The only other thing they tend to do is they give you a graph similar to that one, but they're very careful about the times that are shown on the bottom, and the graph tends to do this. Got that little oscillation, then you have your peak, and you dip, then another oscillation, then you peak, then you dip, and then another oscillation, and a peak, and a dip. And when you look at the times of these peaks, that's every time you're eating a meal. Okay, so that tends to be breakfast, that tends to be lunchtime, and that tends to be your evening meal, your dinner time. Alright, so same change repeated each time. Another important thing you need to know, when a hormone is told to be stopped, when the gland says stop making insulin, alright, and the brain tells the gland to stop making glucagon, that's an example of what's called negative feedback. So the command from the brain to stop is called negative feedback. Hopefully you've got a good understanding of blood sugar control now. Keep watching it, keep trying to remember it.